Greetings and welcome to another fashionably late review here at Words About Games. Amy here, and today I want to talk to you all about Letters, a written adventure. First of all, I want to give out the general information about the game. Letters, a written adventure is developed by 5am Games and published by 5am Games and PID Games, and was released on February 9th, 2022 on Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam. In the interests of disclosure, we were provided with a code to review this game. According to the game's store description, Letters is a fun word puzzle game about friendship, growing up, and finding your place in life. Follow Sarah, a shy girl from Switzerland, by moving through her pen pal letters and chat messages. Use the power of words to solve riddles, interact with her friends, and decide who she will grow up to be. So diving right into my general thoughts about the game, Letters is a game that I streamed over on Twitch in its entirety one evening last week. And it's a really cozy game that I had a really good time with. It's a coming-of-age game, and it tells its coming-of-age story in a really interesting way. So you play as a Swiss girl called Sarah, who, when she's a kid, gets a pen pal from Russia. And this is kind of how the entire narrative of the game is told. It's through letters, instant messages, emails, browsing websites, just generally all the things you do when you're on your computer, or phone, I guess nowadays, communicating with the people that you know and love. You navigate through various forms of communications. There's a tiny little cute pixelated Sarah, and it's basically a platformer in that you jump between the different lines of like the letters, the messages, etc., etc. There's no actual real challenging platforming. Like there's no real challenge to the platforming. But instead, it's all about puzzles to do with the words that are on the screen. You'll have a thing you have to get past, and you'll choose words from the lines of dialogue or whatever else that's in front of you to progress through the game. Like, say, for example, calming down an enraged illustration of your sister with the word ease or love to allow you to pass on to the next part of the page and then get to the next part of A, the story, and B, the next puzzle. Sometimes you'll need to modify words by kicking them, which in and of itself is really satisfying. But you do that by like sort of like scanning through the words that you can see on the screen, and then kicking it to break the word apart essentially. So, for example, you kick the word tease to make ease, which you then pick up and carry over and throw to help you solve a puzzle that you need to solve. There are some words that also exist purely to let you alter characters or the environment in really cute and clever ways, and there's some other interactions that you have throughout the game, but I don't really want to give any of those things away here in the review because they're really cool, and you should definitely go and find them for yourself. Because this game is real good, and I recommend it to anyone who likes narrative-driven adventure games. So I said Letters is a cozy game, and I mean that. It is a cozy game. Like, you know me, I love my cozy games. It does touch on some heavier stuff, like some more emotional or darker content, which is indicated by a content warning when you first start the game. But I mean, this is a coming of age story, and really, all of us who have come of age would probably require a content warning before we shared the highs and low points of our lives with someone. So it fits. It still fits. Letters does a really good job of balancing fun and silly and heartwarming with darker plot moments and plot twists and some realistic but really well done depictions of struggle within its main character. And one of my favorite parts of this game is just how recognizable it is. Like, all of the characters are really, really, really delightful, and I loved interacting with them. But the way that they communicate with each other, like the way that they talk, the way that Sarah and her friends have back and forth, or the way that Sarah and her family have back and forth, it all feels really true to life, and it really helped the game feel like it was moving along at a good pace. Like, even when I was stuck searching for a way to solve a puzzle, I would, like, for like 5 minutes sometimes, I would still say that the game had really good pacing. Like, I barely noticed the 3 and a bit hours that I spent with the game. It just flew past while I was streaming it. And similar to this, the struggles of the game's protagonist really hit home with me. Like, as someone who's gone through, or is going through, or goes through some of the things that Sarah goes through, the depictions of her struggles felt really authentic to me personally. And that authenticity really helped carry the story and make you feel like you're watching a person grow and change believably through the course of their life and not just experiencing a story. I know that probably sounds really dumb and really hoity-toity, but like, you know what I mean. Like, there's a difference between watching a story, even a cool story, in full unfold on the screen in front of you, and feeling like you're really watching a character, a person, like grow and change in front of you. The word puzzles themselves, which is pretty much the only part of the gameplay, they're really well done and implemented in some really interesting ways. Again, none of which I'm going to spoil here. Letters is a really good example of a game that I talk about a lot. It's a game that does one thing, but it does it really well, and it benefits really well from focusing on that one thing. It's really engaging to like read the letters and the chat messages or the websites or whatever else that you're reading, but then scan through it again to find the letters or the words that will help you progress. Or just jump around in a huff and kick all of the words till you try and find a word that you can actually use for something in the environment. Like, the fact that it's a kicking animation, I don't know, that's just really satisfying to me. I also want to shout out the art style. Um, I also want to shout out the art style of the game because it lends the game a lot of its character and charm. Like, this might sound a bit counterintuitive in a game called Letters, which is about the power of words and solving like everything in your life with the power of the written word, but there are a lot of illustrations in this game to highlight all sorts of different things. Like a couple of the characters are artists, for example, and like the letters that you'll write to Katya, who is Sarah's pen pal, will have illustrations all over them, and they're incredibly charming. Like, and they do a lot to sell the tone and the atmosphere and the mood of whichever scene that you're in, while also just sometimes just being really cute or really awesome. Like, there are a couple of illustrations in this game that I looked at as they happened in the moment, and I was just really, really, like, they just put a smile on my face. Like, that's what I would say about this whole game, really. It just kind of, like, even though it does depict Sarah like struggling with some mental health issues, and it does depict some darker things happening in Sarah's life. Like, by the time I was finished it, like, I did just have this smile on my face. Like, I was really happy that I had this experience, and that's down to the writing and the characters, but it's also, I think, down to the illustrations that just lend this game a really charming, really like wholesome vibe. And speaking of putting a smile on my face, this game also leans heavily into puns, which, makes a lot of sense for a game about wordplay and the power of words, that it would just be overloaded with puns. Like, there's puns for days in this game. And you know what? Like, as someone who is a fan of wordplays and a fan of puns, it was brilliant and I loved it. And if you're into that kind of thing, this is an easy sell of a game if you're into that kind of thing. Like, easily. Tremendous punning. Puntastic, one might say. So for my final thoughts, to wrap this video with my final thoughts, Letters is a really, really wholesome coming of age story that just felt nice to play from start to finish. Sarah, her friends, her family, and all of the people she meets are really fleshed out there, and they're really well written characters. The game flips between its goofy, light-hearted moments and more serious ones really effortlessly, and it has a really thoughtful and well-presented depiction of mental health and mental health struggles. The puzzle mechanics and the narratives keep you engaged from start to finish, and honestly, if you're looking for a cozy narrative game to spend an afternoon or an evening with, like, I definitely recommend Letters. I think it's brilliant. Well, that's it for this review. Let us know what you thought of the game. If you've played it, did you like it? Were you in the middle? Or was it something that's just not for you? Leave us a comment down below. You know where the comments are. Or hit me up on Twitter. All the info is in the description. I'm going to get out of here because I have tons more games to play and there's not enough time in the day. So I will leave you right now and hopefully see you next time.